As Catholics, we feed the hungry. It's just what we do. We also provide shelter for the homeless, care to the sick, and dignity to prisoners, all at no cost and with no expectation of return. We are far and away the largest charitable organization in the world, donating literally billions of dollars worth of goods and services each year to those in need. Why do we do this? Well, because Jesus told us to. When we care for the lowly, we care for Him. Because we know that every human being is created in the image and likeness of God and so deserves care. Because if we didn't, millions of people would suffer. At least that's what we like to tell ourselves. While I don't for a second question the motivation of the many good people who serve others or the amount of care that they provide, there is a part of me that questions its effectiveness at times. Is it possible that our good works might actually be doing some harm? I want you to imagine this scenario for a second. Say you're walking down the street and in the river you see a small child drowning. What do you do? If you can swim, you might instinctively jump into the water and save the child. If not, you might grab a rope to throw in, find someone who can help, but you are not going to simply walk past and do nothing. A child is drowning. Now let's say you walk by the same river the next day and you see another child drowning. The next day, the same thing. And the next, until you realize that this is a serious problem that needs some attention. Maybe organize a bunch of your friends and you take shifts watching the river. Maybe use some of your own money to buy poles or rope to pull out drowning children. You might petition your neighborhood to donate old rafts or inner tubes to throw into those who are drowning. It becomes a big thing, a whole campaign. And as a result, the number of drownings plummets. There are so many nets and inner tubes in the water, so many people giving their time to watch the river, that it is nearly impossible to drown, even if someone wanted to. Problem solved. Only in this scenario, you find that while the number of deaths goes down, the number of people needing saving goes up. And not by a little bit either. Since your efforts started and an industry was formed, children needing saving increases a lot. It's now a round-the-clock job that needs your work and ever-growing resources. The reasons for this are probably many, but two stand out to me. Increased safety enables the possibility for taking greater risks, and the actual cause of the problem was never addressed. Because the risk of drowning is lower, there's less of a need to be careful around the water. In fact, the risk is so low, children who ordinarily wouldn't go anywhere near the water, who ordinarily would be afraid of the water, might even be encouraged, indirectly, to give swimming a try. What's the worst that could happen? If things go bad, someone will be there to save me. When someone knows that they will not have to bear the full consequences of a risk, when things will be taken care of for them no matter what they do, the motivation to take care of oneself diminishes greatly. As safety features in cars have increased, people have driven faster and more recklessly, getting into more accidents. Patients taking oral HIV prevention measures have been found to be more likely to engage in riskier sexual encounters, often without a condom. We buy insurance for our phones and then treat them with less care. In the case of charity work, the presence of, say, a soup kitchen or homeless shelter can have the same effect. While the desperately poor and those who can't take care of themselves will be served and kept alive, which is obviously a good thing, others, who might have been able to make ends meet with just a few sacrifices and some greater personal responsibility, won't be challenged to do so. Why spend your own money on food when someone's giving out for free? Why be responsible if someone else will still take care of your needs? The decision isn't always as conscious as this, and I don't mean to suggest that poor people should just help themselves. Clearly, there are many structural factors like mental illness and economic injustices that are outside of their control, which I'll get to at the end. But you can see how charity can cause an unintended consequences, ever so slightly exacerbating the problem. Sometimes it's the well-meaning lifeguards and safety nets that actually cause more people who can't swim to get into the water. But that's only one side of this potential moral hazard. There is, I think, a more dangerous side. In caring for others, we not only run the risk of creating a dependent class of people, we can also remove the burden of responsibility from the ones who should actually be addressing the issue. In many cases, Christian organizations are the only ones doing meaningful work in a city, feeding, housing, and caring for the poor, leading us to believe that if we stop doing this work, thousands of people wouldn't be taken care of. But that's not necessarily true. It could be just as much the case that those who should be taking care of the poor, say the government, and those causing the poor to be in their condition, say greedy corporations, feel no need to do anything because we're already doing it. Why spend tax dollars on fixing the problem when the Christians are already taking care of it? Why pay living wages and proper benefits if there are organizations out there willing to feed my employees? In serving people around the clock, we keep the pot from boiling over, pacifying the situation just enough to let government officials, business leaders, and society at large off the hook. If If we didn't serve the hungry, people might starve, steal, riot, go on strike, or God forbid, make politicians look bad, forcing them to actually do something about the problem. As well-intentioned as our good works can be, there is a good chance that we are actually preventing it from being fixed because we never let it get bad enough to be a problem for those who can fix it. At best, it is a band-aid on a gaping wound. At worst, it is cover for the surgeon who doesn't want to do their job. So what am I saying here? Just stop feeding the poor? Let them starve and suffer on the streets so that someone else can take care of the problem? No, absolutely not. What I'm suggesting is that we need to be a little bit smarter with the way that we do charity. Returning to our scenario of the drowning children, the problem with what I shared isn't the fact that people dove headfirst into the problem and cared for people in need. It's that they focused all of their attention on saving drowning children and gave no attention to wondering why the children were drowning in the first place. Nets and ropes and volunteers are great, don't get me wrong, but what about walking upstream and finding where the children are actually falling in? Maybe there's a bridge out that needs fixing. Maybe there's a need for swim lessons in the city. Maybe there's a crazy guy in the city who jumps out and throws the children in the water. I don't know, we should arrest him though. As important as it is to deal with the emergency in front of us by providing charity, saving the drowning child, we must take just as seriously the long-term questions of justice, understanding and addressing the root cause of the issue, conscious of how our actions today might actually hinder the growth of people tomorrow. Jesus was absolutely right when he said that the poor will always be with us. Factors such as mental illness, drug addiction, poor wages, bad decisions, unaffordable housing, and food deserts, a mix of things within and outside of one's control, will ensure that there will always be people in need of serving. As Christians, it is our moral obligation, without question, to treat them as we would Jesus himself and ensure that everyone has everything they need in life. But this does not necessarily mean that we automatically give everyone everything they need every time they ask for it. While I don't want to be in the business of judging people or approaching the poor with distrust, I do know that handouts are not always the answer. It's a quick fix that lets someone eat for today and quiets our conscience, which is important, but it may not be what is best for the person in the long run. As Christians, I am so proud of the work we do at soup kitchens, hospitals, shelters, and food pantries. It truly is the work of Christ to serve those who have nothing. I just want it to be smarter. I want it to be more holistic. I want it to take into account not only the needs of today, but what's possible for tomorrow. There are some who, for whatever reason, cannot take care of themselves and will never be able to take care of themselves, and so we must serve them every time they ask. But there are also those who need more than an easy fix, who have within themselves the ability to live a better life, who might just need a little education, some direction, even a bit of tough love. We do this not because we are dismissing them or their situation, not because we are judging them or looking down on them, but because we have taken the time to get to know them, to understand their issues, and have come to the conclusion that what they need is more than a sandwich, and that a sandwich might actually push them farther back than where they already are. If we want to serve the poor, then we must understand the poor. It's not about how much we give them, but about giving them what they actually need.